now tuned into the greatest.
Hello, everybody. This is the Sage Be Me podcast. I will be your host for today's Sage Be Me. And before we get to our episode for today, last time we were talking about the Tindium and Tyranny of Karma. Before we finished off to enter part 2. No, it was Sadhana. Yeah, I believe it was Sadhana. But between Sadhana and the Tindium and Tyranny of Karma, I realized that I didn't say something that was actually very important. In the book, Sadhguru says that life is like a cycle. There are actually like 3 cycles, or was it 4, around there. First one, he talked about a couple. I'm not going to say them how he phrased them. I'm not going to be paraphrasing. I'm just going to be telling you how I realized it. There was the daily cycle. There was the monthly cycle. There was the yearly cycle. And then he talked about a solar cycle. So we all know the daily, monthly, the yearly, but I'm going to just expound a little bit on the solar cycle. So what do I mean when I say the solar cycle? This is roughly about 12 years. Sadhguru said that in a period of time, see, life is a cycle. So what will happen is if you're living it in a daily cycle, your life will be in complete chaos. Why do I say this? The cycle keeps repeating itself over and over again. When you're living it in a monthly, it won't be as tedious, although you'll be feeling a little bit loony, because things keep on repeating themselves. There will be nothing new. Yearly, we all know how the year goes by, and when it reaches January, people keep on complaining, saying it's hard, something of the sort. So anyone who's living in the solar cycle is the one that is reaping the most benefits out of this world. He can make what it would have taken him to do in a span of like 10 years. He can do it within a year. Make things happen better for himself. Anyways, on to the business of today. Volition, the basis of karma. This is what we'll be talking about today. He started off saying that ultimately life is neither suffering nor bliss. It is what you make it. I was thinking that if you're feeling like you're suffering, you're the one who's making your own suffering. If you're feeling blissful. So he starts off telling us a story about these 2 guys. They're on their way to a brothel. Then Bhagavad Gita. This is something like sacred text. It's great. It's a great sacred text. They heard of the Bhagavad. I'll use Gita. I'll use Gita to explain. So since they heard of the Gita, one of the friends decided, I'll not go to the brothel to see the prostitutes. I'll go see the scripture. So once this friend went to the scriptures just to hear it, the other one went to the prostitute. So this one who was in the Gita kept on thinking about how this other person who was with the prostitute was enjoying himself. He kept on saying he's an idiot. He should have gone with the other guy to the prostitute. But on this other end, this other guy was feeling like, my friend is really enlightened. He can really stop himself from going to see a prostitute and go for the sacred texts. This is how he starts telling us about karma. He tells us that the person who accumulated the most karma is the one who went to the Gita because he was downsizing himself, if that's the word. He kept on bashing himself, thinking that he should have gone to see the prostitute with his friend. But the friend on the other side, as much as he did enjoy himself, he thought, hey, there's something better to strive for than getting into the brothels. He felt the admiration for his friend, so maybe in the future he decided he'll start going to the Gita. But the other friend was like, this guy is having so much fun. I wish I was him. I wish I was him. I wish I was him. I'm just exaggerating over there. So when this happens, the guy who kept on thinking that he could have gone to the brothel, he's the one who accumulated the most karma, while his friend actually did the least. Here's where he says that karma isn't about the physical actions that you do. You don't accumulate bad, quote unquote, bad karma because of your action. So this is where people don't understand what karma is. You get? Anyways, he goes on and gives another story. This is about an Indian mystic called Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna usually told people about different scenarios of people in their lives. One of the scenarios was Sri Ramakrishna usually told this story about these guys the two friends, one who goes to the one who goes to the Gita, and the other who went to the brothel. That's Sri Ramakrishna, who used to tell guys on how people accumulate karma that negatively advances their life. Because although karma donates action of body, mind and energy, it is not about action alone. Regardless of the blunders you may commit in the name of love, karma still does not accumulate beyond a point. Intention makes all the difference. If you say something prompted by love and another person gets hurt, this has karma. Not yours though, because you did something out of love. It's like in Robert Greene, the 48 laws of power usually says, what difference does it make when someone does something out of love, but in the end it ends up hurting you? That person did the action out of love, but you in the end got hurt. Get what I mean? So if you got hurt, then that's your karma. You think adversely of this person, etc. But the other person was thinking, I was doing this to help her. I was doing that to help her. So that's the karma. And vice versa is also true. If you do something out of spite and the other person doesn't get hurt, then it's positive karma to them. That's just how it is, and that's just one kind of karma. So there are other scenarios that I wanted to talk about. This is how it started. You get into an argument with someone while you're cutting vegetables in the kitchen. So you have a knife, then you stab them, then they die. That's a second situation. A third situation, you plan on disposing an enemy. You follow them, then slit their throat on purpose. A fourth scenario, you behave in a friendly manner to someone. They come over for your dinner at your place. They have a wonderful meal. Then when they're seated, they're relaxing, then you slit their throat. That's the fourth one. And the fifth one is you behave perfectly normal, but within yourself you plot on something terrible, things you want to do to that person with all the hatred that you carry. This is another situation where karma accumulates. In the first 4 incidents, it's the same thing. The knife gets to kill someone, one other person, knife and death. So that's what happens. But you can't tell which one really breeds the worst karma, because in the end they end up killing someone. He's not talking about being morally upright, what is right, what is wrong. He's not talking about that. He means what creates the worst consequences for you. Consequences are seen after your actions, right? So the consequences for the first 4 people is the same, but the impact is determined by your will. Like, fine, you've killed someone. In your head you're like, okay, I did a mistake, I can't make up for it, so I'll have to live with it, or something of the sort. And the other one, so this guy didn't kill you. Cool. He's an amazing guy, but he plots how to kill you in the head, yeah? So his volition is usually worse because he's actually filled with a lot of bitterness. He keeps on plotting, keeps on doing things that pull him back. So he ends up acquiring the most or the worst karmic accumulation, because the first 4, they did the action, it's done, they're facing the consequences. You, on the other hand, will keep on thinking, if I can do this to that person, that for that person. Allowing the bitterness to grow and multiplying within has deeper internal consequences. What you'll feel about yourself. If you keep repeating the same mental action, it is because you have a strong personal stake in the matter. You may not be sentenced to prison, but you have imprisoned yourself in doing the same thing, or the same thing differently in different times. So he says that the consequences of karma is not really punishment. Karma is just life itself unveiling. Working out karma means that the play of your life is happening according to your tendencies, not according to some system of right and wrong. What does he mean? Karma will happen if you follow the religion, if you decide not to follow the religion, if you decide to, as in, it's you who's taking up action to do this, it's you who's taking up action to do that. Example, if teenagers go out drinking or they gamble without their parents knowing, they feel good, they feel like the man. But when the parents find out, they feel guilty of doing whatever it is that they did. Yeah, cool. If they start feeling guilty, that's karma accumulating, because internally they feel that's a consequence of their action. So if you let me just read here. The occult system exists on the fringes of many cultures, wherein a few experts can approach to use their energies to cause harm to someone else. Once you energetically try to influence someone else for your own benefit, it's the worst possible karma. The karma energies generated by energy-based action goes deeper than any other kind of action. If wearing a miniskirt in some parts of the world is considered outrageous, similarly, being covered from top to toe in some parts of the world is considered bizarre and inappropriate. These are not intrinsically right or wrong behaviors. In this society, they deem what they are. However, in dressing differently from their social norm induced guilt or shame in the wearer, it could mean that accumulation of karma. So there are different modes of accumulating karma. Sadhguru's favorite character. He was sick and in his deathbed and stayed there for quite a period of time, and decided to call the lawyer, and he wants to write a will. He told the lawyer, I want to give all the things all my belongings to my wife, but she has to marry within 90 days. The lawyer was surprised. He was like, why would you do this? It's an outrageous request. Not really outrageous, strange request, because people will think that I wouldn't want her to marry after I died, something of the sort. Maybe stay a while single, then something else manifest or something of the sort. So Mr. Phil, I said that I want at least one person to regret my death. That's when you realize that someone's version of heaven is another person's version of hell. And ideas of right and wrong are inheritedly relative. For example, there's a bandit tribe in India called the Pandris. So these guys used to rob and kill. That's how their gods taught them the skill, and that's how they celebrated if they did they looted, killed well, that's how their culture was. So the British army went to them, did a lot of correction in quotes. After that, they did it actually indiscriminately. They were killing anyone and anyone, shooting and killing anyone. They didn't really care, like, who is this? So the idea of the tribe was simply to be a good bandit, and that they were doing a good deed. It wasn't simply a good deed, but it accumulated karma. So it's not how you do it and what motive it is performed, It's not how you do it. It's what motive it is performed that makes all the difference. So what are your motives while doing something? Is it for your personal benefit or for the benefit of everyone? That's Karna. Anyways, that was the Violation of Karma. Make sure you follow me on my socials at sage_be_me on Twitter, sage_be_muchachos on Instagram, and welcome to the Sage Be Me podcast.